Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all. I'm Deputy Chief Jim Howard of the Peekskill Fire Department. I would like to thank you all for attending our annual September 11th memorial service. At this time, I would like to call Chief Bob Fiorio of the Peekskill Fire Department to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Detail, set, march.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chief. At this time, I would like to have Peekskill Fire Department Chaplain Father Vernon come forward for the invocation. Father.
This evening we gather to remember and honor the lives of innocent Americans who lost their lives in the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001. In remembering these victims, we recall the firefighters, our own Sam Ortiz, policemen, paramedics who gave their lives to save others. This gathering means a lot more because we have not forgotten. As Americans, we are made stronger through adversity and more united through tragedy. Let us bow our heads and pray. Dear Lord, today we gather under your all-powerful presence and loving grace as we remember the lives that were lost 12 years ago. While we feel great anguish to see so much destruction and experience so much pain, you give us comfort as we know that you are in control. Although the world can seem so broken and so full of evil, we can be assured that in you there is justice, there is peace, there is hope. Even among such incomprehensible suffering and trauma, we know that you were there, right beside each of your children as they departed this world and came to return to you. We pray for a special blessing on this day of remembrance and ask that you be with those wives, husbands, parents, children who lost someone so dear to them and for whom today represents a wound that seems impossible to heal. Likewise, we humbly pray that you give your comfort and strength to all of us. Fill our nation and our world with the love and strength that can overcome any tragedy. Thank you, Lord, for the one gift that can truly bring redemption to our broken world, your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Then the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. I'd like to introduce some of the dignitaries with us tonight. I'd like to start with our own Mayor, Mary Foster. We have our Deputy Mayor, Drew Claxton, Councilwoman Mary Beth McGowan, Councilman Andy Torres, Councilwoman Kathleen Talbot, Councilman Darren Rieger, City Manager Anthony Ruggiero, and we have a representative from Congresswoman Nita Lowey's office who can't be with us today. She's quite busy in Washington, and she sent her representative, Merrill Harris. Thank you very much for attending. Also in the crowd, we have State Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff. We have representatives from the Buchanan Fire Department, the Montrose Fire Department, and I'm sure others that I haven't seen. I want to thank you all for coming. And also, we have Gene Otis here with us and former Councilwoman Kathy Pisani that I see in the crowd. Anybody that I forgot, I'm sorry, but we're very grateful that you're here with us tonight. At this time, I'd like to introduce our mayor, Mary Foster, who would like to say a few words.
So tonight, we honor not just those who died 12 years ago in the attacks on 9/11 and the first responders and the average citizens who were just at work, but we also tonight honor Detective Charlie Wassil, who was a first responder in the cleanup aftermath and who has died from the lung disease contracted during that. And I just wanted to share a passage. There is a book that has been written called Brave Hearts. It's written by Cynthia Brown, and it is about the police department of the city of New York. And even though we have such great respect and honor for our fire department because of the special tribute tonight for Charlie Wassil, I wanted to share a passage out of Brave Hearts. The first person they talk about in the book is Rick Miller, who was a dear childhood friend of Charlie Wassil. And when they talk about Rick Miller, the chapter on him is always above and beyond. And in the interviews that they've done about Rick Miller, included in there are passages from Charlie Wassil. And so Charlie will live not only in the hearts of all of us who knew him, but in the hearts of his friends in the NYPD where he first served. And true to Charlie's character, here's what he says about Rick Miller. And keep in mind that they were close friends, they were Marines, and Charlie says his partner the first year, a childhood friend from Peekskill, as a cop, was quiet and he is respectful of everyone. He doesn't say much, but he is very observant and has a great ability to figure out when something is right on the streets. And the skills of Rick Miller is part of what helped Charlie Wassil be a great officer and a wonderful detective here in the city of Peekskill. And I know he brought such importance to the lives of people here in Peekskill that he touched. And so I referenced the book. So for those who actually want to see Charlie Wassil memorialized in writing, it's just such a fitting tribute that he was one of those interviewed when talking about some of the bravest of the folks from the NYPD who had responded during the 9/11 attacks. I do want to thank our fire department for doing this very special tribute every year. And I want to thank all of you for coming out. It's gratifying to see the crowds, and actually the crowds seem to grow every year, and that is gratifying as well, because it means that we aren't forgetting, but actually it's more and more important to us to actually remember and to pay tribute to those who have died in service to ourselves and our country. And so I will hand it back to you, Chief.
Thank you very much, Mayor Foster. "12 years. 12 years have passed since the senseless act of terrorism killed over 3,000 people in New York City, Washington, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The Fire Department of New York lost 343 members. The Port Authority, Police Department of New York and New Jersey lost 37 members and a canine. The New York Police Department lost 23 members. This year, I would like to add that 20 members of New York State Supreme Court Officers Association heroically responded to the terrorist attack to assist in the rescue effort. 3 officers were killed in the collapse, and we're going to work over the next year on adding their names to our memorial. They say time heals all wounds. Does it? The personal loss we feel in the death of our brother, Firefighter Sam Otis, has been relived this year with the passing of Peekskill PD's Detective Charles Wassil. Charlie died of an illness contracted while working at Ground Zero. I would like to dedicate this year's service to Detective Wassil. Sam would have insisted on it. Sam and Charlie were cut from the same cloth. Sam and Charlie worked together for the Peekskill Police Department. They had the same sense of humor. Their work ethic was exemplary. They both could be counted on to give their all, no matter what was asked of them. They were both my friends, and they are truly missed. The void we feel from our loss has gotten larger. It will continue to grow as more victims succumb to their acquired illnesses. For me, the answer is no. Time does not heal all wounds. At this time, I'd like to call on Tim Murphy to play the Firefighter's Creed that he has written. It's the official New York State Fallen Firefighters Memorial. Tim?
This is dedicated, as always, to the bravest, to the women and men and their families, past, present, and future, firefighters all. And we'll extend the dedication, of course, this year to Charlie Wassil. There's a war that's being fought without bomb or rifle shot. There are deadly confrontations every day, where the enemy is fire and the casualties grow higher among those who place themselves in danger's way. It's a warrior breed of men who face the fires and fight again. When the screaming sirens sound their battle cry, where the klaxons blare the call, they'll be there to give their all. They lay their lives on the line, do or die. When the terrorists attack, stab our nation in the back, then our firefighters lead the way once more. With their brothers, the police, the volunteers and EMTs, they are joined to combat this unholy war. With the strength of saving grace, they met the challenge face to face. Although the stakes had never been so high, they took the job and got it done. Unsung heroes, everyone. They lay their lives on the line, do or die. And when the flames are blazing high against the smoky midnight sky, you will hear their mighty diesels raging by. They proceed at greatest speed. It's the firefighter's creed. They lay their lives on the line, do or die. There's a piper on the hill, in the misty morning chill, you can hear his lonesome bagpipes' mournful drone. Another firefighter died, and his brothers at graveside will see his widow, and their children aren't alone. For every fireman has to know that he could be the next to go. It's just the nature of the beast, they can't deny. Every year they add more names to the Brotherhood of Flames. They lay their lives on the line, do or die. And when the flames are blazing high against the smoky midnight sky, you will hear their mighty diesels raging by. They proceed at greatest speed. It's the firefighters' creed. Countless lives have been saved by the bravest of the brave. Years of training, endless drill, dedication, iron will. Village square, city street, they're the ones who take the heat. At each station's strident bell, still they charge straight into hell. They lay their lives on the line, do or die. God bless the firefighters.
Thank you, Tim. That was magnificent, as always. At this time, I'm going to introduce Chief of the Peekskill Fire Department, Eric Johansson, who I didn't let you all know he was here already. But also along that line, we have Amelia Wassil and her sister Judy. Angela. That's Charlie's wife and sister. Without further ado, Chief Johansson.
Thank you, Chief Howard. On behalf of the City of Peekskill Police Department, I'd like to thank Chief Robert Fiorio and the members of the City of Peekskill Fire Department for your continued dedication to honoring those who perished as a result of the 9/11 terror attacks on the World Trade Center. I'd also like to thank ex-Captain Sue Sheridan from the Peekskill Fire Department, who spearheaded the effort to add the plaque that is about to be unveiled today, and for suggesting that we dedicate today to Detective Charlie Wassil. I'd also like to thank the men and women of the Peekskill Police Department for their support and their support of Detective Wassil. The mayor, the city council, and the city manager for their support as well. While it is unfortunate that we have been forced to add yet another name to this beautiful monument, it is comforting to know that the members of the Peekskill community will never forget those who gave all and made the ultimate sacrifice. Most who enter into the emergency services do so due to their strong desire to serve their communities, and Detective Charles Wassil and firefighter Sam Otis were no exception. Both were true heroes, although neither would be comfortable with this label. They performed their duties honorably and without hesitation, whether it was fighting crime or fighting fire. They went about their business without fear, never wavering to put service to their fellow man before their own safety. And on 9/11, both rushed to the World Trade Center, where they courageously faced their most difficult assignment. Firefighter Otis perished on 9/11, becoming one of the 343 FDNY killed that day. The rest perished trying to save thousands of innocent victims who were caught in what was the beginning of our war on terror. City of Peekskill Police Detective Charles Wassil continued to participate in the rescue effort at Ground Zero in the following days. While he didn't know at the time, Detective Wassil would become one of the thousands of first responders and trade workers to contract a deadly disease due to their exposure to the deadly toxins that filled the air. Detective Wassil was forced to retire from the Peekskill Police Department in August of 2008 due to his illness. In the months following his retirement, Detective Wassil's health deteriorated rapidly, causing him paralysis and to become confined to a wheelchair. He suffered greatly for the next 4+ years, spending most of the time in nursing facilities and hospitals where he never gave up. Unfortunately, Detective Wassil succumbed to his illness and passed away on May 1st, 52 years old. Thanks to the efforts of the Peekskill Police and Fire Department, Detective Charles Wassil, who was one of my closest friends, will never be forgotten. Thank you, and may God bless America.
Thank you, Chief Eric Johansson of the Police Department. I was told I said Fire Department. There's a reason for that. Eric and I were firefighters back in our early days, and if he didn't change sides to the PD, I have no doubt he would have been Chief of the Fire Department. I'm sorry about that, Eric. Now we'd like to unveil the plaque for Detective Wassil. Chief, you have a contingent. Could you bring out Angela and her sister Judy? They have not seen the plaque yet.
Sure.
Thank you, Chief Johansson. At this time, we're going to place the wreaths at the various plaques we have for the different services. I'd like to call out Lieutenant James Malloy and Peekskill Police Detective John Bennett to take the first wreath. The wreath is for the NYPD. The second wreath is going to Detective Wassil's new plaque, and that's going to be laid by Patrol Officer Galusha. The third wreath is for the plaque for the Port Authority Police Department of New York and New Jersey. It's going to be laid by Officer Brian Ahern and Officer Greg Brady. The fourth wreath is for the event of 9/11. That's going to be placed by Deputy Chief John Pappas and Trustee Vinnie DePiro. The fifth wreath is going to be for the Fire Department of New York. It's going to be placed by Firefighter Michael Hanlon and Firefighter Russ Tinkler. The sixth wreath is going to be placed at our piece of the World Trade Center, our steel, by Deputy Chief Bob Bodie and Assistant Chief John Rose. We also have ex-Captain Sue Sheridan, and we have a first responder, Aaron Mayer, who's going to be assisting. Now I'm going to ask ex-Captain Patrick Matwijic to sound fives on the bell. That's the signal of a line of duty death for the FDNY. They sounded that over 343 times in the months and years after 9/11. It gives me great pleasure at this time to introduce a member of the Port Authority Police Department who would like to say a few words, Matt Westfield. There you go, Matt.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to be very brief. In the meantime, can we have Chief Fiorio and Captain Sue Sheridan step up here, please? Over the last 12 years, the Peekskill Fire Department and the City of Peekskill, along with the Port Authority Police Pipes and Drums, have had a very strong friendship and relationship. From playing their 4th of July parade every year, to being here every September 11th, to the opening of this beautiful memorial. That friendship became even stronger this past fall when Hurricane Sandy had devastated the tri-state area. More so in the areas of Breezy Point and Rockaway, where members of our department lived, and our member here of the band, retired Detective Greg Brady, and his house was flooded. Still standing, but very bad damage. And Sue did not hesitate to call me and say, what did we need? And we said Greg needed help, and next day she gathered members of the department to go down to Breezy and to help clean out Greg's house and help with the recovery. And not just Greg's house, but his neighbors and other members of our department. So very briefly, and on behalf of Greg, we'd like to present a couple of mementos that Greg has had. Greg worked down at the World Trade Center when it was attacked, and he recovered a few items and has kept, and he was able to save from his house. The first is a flag that was flown over at that time, Ground Zero, the week after, and we'd like to present that to Chief Fiorio at this time.
Thank you very much for that.
And one of the other items was one of the turnout coats worn by members of the World Trade Center Command. They did both the firefighting and the police patrol activities at the Trade Center at the time. And Greg had his turnout coat from that time, and we'd like to present that to Captain Charlie. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having us back every year, and we'll always be here.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was very nice of you. Now it's my turn to settle a little score. The Port Authority Police Department has been a friend of this department from the beginning. As I said before, they had 37 members and a K-9 killed on 9/11. And we share their loss and greatly appreciate their friendship. But something disparaging was said and then repeated in the media about the Port Authority PD that I would like to address. The best way to do that, I think, is to enlighten everybody as to what just some of the Port Authority's responsibilities are. The Port Authority Police Department was established in 1927. Today it operates with over 1,700 personnel. They are responsible for 3 major airports: LaGuardia International, JFK International, Newark Liberty International, with over 110 million passengers, 1.3 million aircraft, and 26 million tons of cargo going through these facilities annually. The Port Authority Marine Terminal facilities, including Newark Elizabeth and the Brooklyn Piers, handle thousands of ships carrying 32.8 million metric tons of cargo annually. They're responsible for the Lincoln Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel, the George Washington Bridge, the Goethals Bridge, the Bayonne Bridge, the Outer Bridge Crossing. The department is responsible for the Port Authority Bus Terminal, which is the largest in the nation, handling over 57 million passengers on 2.2 million buses per year. The PATH rail system carries 245,000 passengers a day, which they were responsible. They're also responsible for the George Washington Bridge Bus Terminal, Journal Square Transportation Center, AirTran JFK, AirTran Newark, and One World Trade Center, what we like to call the Freedom Tower. This list is not all inclusive. There is more that comes under the PAPD, but I think you get the point. I would personally like to thank all the members of the Port Authority Police Department for their vigilance and dedication. It is because of your efforts that we, the traveling public, can do so with confidence, knowing that the APD is on the job. Got it? Thank you, fellas. Also, I would like to thank the members of the Armed Services, former and current, for their service to our country in protecting our freedom while preserving our way of life. We are forever in your debt. At this time, thank you. At this time, I'd like to call Bishop Champion from the Peekskill Area's Pastor Association for the benediction. Bishop Champion.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor, for including our interreligious community in this annual and solemn event. When I watched our President and the First Lady emerge from the White House doors this morning for the moment of silence, it was a certainly unforgettable picture that sticks in my mind. And with that thought, sometimes I wish to share with you that in the face of terrible disasters and tragedies, there can only be but silence. On the other hand, as people of faith, our beliefs in God and a higher power give us manners to reflect and to make sense out of otherwise senseless happenings. Let us reflect then now in prayer. one of the greatest fathers of the Christian faith, St. John of Damascus, reminds us, there is no one in this life who does not escape death. Everything has been determined by the hand of God. Yet, in your compassion, O Lord, give rest to your servants who have been taken from us. For you alone are compassionate and merciful. The same Father writes in one of his other hymns, with the saints, O God, give rest to the souls of your servants, where there is no pain, no sorrow, no mourning, but only life everlasting. Eternal memory grant, O Lord, to your servants that we remember here today, lost on September 11th, 2001, especially Charles Wassil and Sam Ortiz, and make their memory to be forever. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed, to the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. Let us now call down the blessing of God upon all of us gathered here today, and upon our community, our families, our friends, our dear ones. Lord, you have been our refuge from generation to generation. Our help is in the name of, blessed be the name of the Lord, both now and forever. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who made heaven and earth. Let's all raise our hands and invoke God's blessing. May the blessing of Almighty God descend upon each and every one of us here present and remain with us forever. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop. Before we go, I have a couple of people to thank. First, Mayor Foster, City Manager Ruggiero, for the assistance in getting the Bell Electronics repaired that was damaged in Hurricane Sandy. We're going to be working on that over the next few months, and it should be ready by our next memorial service. I'd also like to thank DPW Foreman Greg Rich and his men who work under the Director of DPW Director Brent Van Zandt for attending to so many of our needs. And I'd also like to thank Firefighter Jim Meany and his son for installing Detective Wassil's plaque. And last but not least, I would like to thank all of you for being here and for remembering. We'll meet again next year on this date at this location to once again remember all of those who were taken from us on 9/11/2001. Thank you all, and Peekskill will never forget.